Hello, it's Migos Impossible. Migos, my name is Taffrey16. Welcome back to another reaction video, and welcome my reaction to Managing England, The Impossible Jobs. This is a channel points request by username. Thank you, username, for using your points on this. This was a documentary that came out in 2018, I believe, on the BBC. Judging off the title, basically I'm probably about the trials and tribulations of being the manager of the England national football squad. And if I've timed this video correctly, this should be coming out the same day that England starts their 2022 campaign against Iran, I'm sorry. Yes, it's Iran. And then, is it? No. Yes, it's Iran, I'm pretty sure. And then they play America on Friday. And I think we all know how that's going to go. So, no hard feelings when we wipe the floor with you. But this is about 55 minutes. I think I can get this on YouTube, maybe. I downloaded the copy of YouTube, but it's also one of those things where maybe it's just blocked in the UK. I don't know. We'll find out. I'll find out right now after we watch it. Okay.
The World Cup is the greatest competition in the world, and certainly it's a great occasion for all in this country.
This is the pinnacle. This is the climax. This is what we've worked for. There are no high levels to manage.
That was an absolute disgrace.
It's a goal. You ask anybody in this country if they want to manage England, and if they say no, I tell you they're lying.
Steve, are you excited by the prospect?
How we treat England managers in our country is absolutely disgraceful.
You see, at the end of the day, I get the sack now.
If you want to write whatever you want to write, you can write it, because that's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
It seems that this job is becoming impossible.
Yeah, I imagine this job comes from depression.
2.5 years ago, when notice of my appointment was made, the obvious question, how will England get on in the World Cup competition? Without any consideration at all, I said that England would win the World Cup competition.
How'd that go?
They think it's all over. It is now.
Was he the one that won, actually? It might have been.
There is Alf Ramsey, this man who has organised
Oh, yeah.
this victory.
It went pretty well.
I remember '66, of course. I saw it on black and white television, I think.
Everybody remembers 66.
When
I get
you're
told
appointed
about
as
daily.
manager of the England team, you take on a job which has responsibility, has certainly enormous kudos and profile, and where the expectations will be very, very high because everyone is waiting for that moment when their team succeeds once again. And in our case, it's been a long time since we were able to do it.
Or that moment where they lose to America this coming Friday.
È il fantasma che torna.
Who said that?
Questo 66, sempre, è il tempo che passa e non si raggiunge ancora l'obiettivo.
We have enormous respect for everybody that was involved in that. It is an event that will forever be
There's the current man.
by English football supporters. But I don't think we need to be burdened by history. We can use the past to inspire us and to learn from.
It's a big job, probably one of the biggest.
You think he'll get sacked if they don't make it out of the group stage?
Yeah, I was proud of it. Every day I was there.
Because that could be the final straw, honestly. Since 1966, England have not made it after. They came close in the Euros. 13 managers have been appointed. The role has become known as the impossible job.
The impossible job. It's not an impossible job because people keep doing it. I think if it's an impossible job, everybody turn around and say, "No, I can't do that. It's an impossible job." I think we all think we can challenge ourselves, and you've got to take the greatest challenge and try and master it head on.
I must say, I'm not terribly sure how to start this interview. Do we start by calling you Sir Alfred?
I should start at the beginning and carry on from where we left off on our previous meeting.
Sir Alf Ramsey.
How much difference has success made to you, Alf?
I'd like to think that it hasn't changed my outlook on life or me as a person.
Alf Ramsey created huge expectations in the country, and everyone said when England went to Mexico in 1970 that squad was even better. You know, you had
it was in Mexico,
the experience of '66 with some
the
good
next
new
one in
talent
26
coming through. So yeah, I think there was a lot of disappointment.
America, Mexico, and Canada co-hosted.
Germany have beaten England and
Try-host.
revenge for 66.
Oof. Oh, that's right, Germany was still split.
So far, given the impression that, you know, maybe Alf Ramsey might feel bad enough about it to resign. Has he said anything to the players about this?
There's no chance of that. Who can take his place?
It's part of my employment to be criticised, and I think as the national team manager, every move of England's performance is going to be analysed, and so I'm in the limelight more often than not.
Football and England, they are friends. Always been like that. So football is great fun, but very serious in England.
As founder fathers, we regard ourselves as the custodians of the game. There's an element of that.
Here's a followed England's World Cup win. Ramsey was criticised for his perceived negative style.
I was interviewed by a newsman this morning, and he seemed to think that there are millions of people that referred to the type of football that I encouraged the England team to play was dull. It lacked flair. This word flair keeps cropping up. And
was it? Anybody who's seen it, let me know.
That, infer that you know absolutely nothing about the game of football.
It is an extremely important match. It's a chance for the side and for Sir Alf Ramsey to win back a few lost friends.
Damaski coming up square number 10. And it's there! And England are out of the World Cup.
Well...
Following meetings, a unanimous recommendation was submitted to the Executive Committee that Sir Alf Ramsey should be replaced as the England team manager.
The FA had this reputation for being loyal to managers. What followed was, of course, years of disappointment.
Alf created something special. He created loyalty and a team spirit, which was never before. It's always sad when a champion hits the dust.
Don
Well, this weekend, England's footballers get their first taste of life under the new team manager, Don Revie, the man who now has the most important job in English football.
I think that my job as team manager is to get them playing entertaining, attractive football.
Oof. Well, how'd that go, Revie?
Don Revie deserted. The FA learned from a newspaper that his palm had been crossed by the rich rulers of the desert. The FA asked Ron Greenwood to restore England's integrity.
All right.
Can he see you? That's it.
One of the problems with Don Revie, we talked far too much about the opposition. We used to get these dossiers. Like myself and Mick Shannon, who played cards a lot, we used to use the backs of them for keeping the scores of the cards on. Ron Greenwood, the attitude is, hey, you know, let's give them respect, but let them worry about us a little bit.
This is Robson. Keegan pulls away and gets the header, and it's wide. The 1982 World Cup comes to an end for England, and the reign of Ron Greenwood as England's manager comes to an end.
Well, St. remains one of the worst things in history. Damn. Meanwhile, Alf Ramsey's returned to club football.
It was quite like old times. His words to the press were still uttered with caution.
If I can spare your blushes, I think it's true to say that even after quite a little time, I've yet to meet an England player to say anything to your detriment. But I'm not sure that the public know that Alf Ramsey.
The public don't know or understand Alf Ramsey. I wonder how they could get to know me anyway.
Well,
tell them.
I wouldn't have thought this was quite true, would you? I think it's the football writers, the
what do you like, Alf?
Programs on television.
What's your favourite colour?
Probably don't understand Alf Ramsey. Is that right? I think the public understand Alf Ramsey.
There are people who would say, Alf, that had you been able to do what you've just done now in a very pleasant way, if you'd been able to present that face to other people, you might still be in charge of the England team.
Damn.
That was one of the reasons why you didn't stay there.
Oh, perhaps it's just as well. I should live longer anyway, won't I?
Sir Bobby Robson.
We're off to the Ideal Home exhibition?
No.
You're going home, are you?
Marks and Sparks.
Oh, dear. Marks and Sparks. I know the job has got some impossibilities, but what hasn't in life in many, many ways.
True.
I took the job because I wanted to take it. Any person with ambition and hope would take it anyway. It's a great job. If I can get it right, it's utopia.
Oof. Damn.
From the mid-80s onwards, there was probably a 10, 15-year period where there was a huge circulation war amongst the tabloids, and football and Robson and the England manager just got caught up in that, got caught up in their crosshairs.
You know what I'd like to say to people in this country? Do you want a successful England team? Now, if they say no, then what I'd like to do is pack in my job straight away and go back into club football, because there's no point in me being in that job.
Let's be quite clear about this. There is a fundamental problem in English football. There are no agreed priorities of English football. The FA has priorities, the Football League has priorities, the Premier League has priorities. The unspoken priority is that we should be successful in club football. And that is what successive managers have competed against for generations.
Well, I think in '86 we didn't get off to a great start. Bobby Robson was massively under pressure, of course, he's the manager.
After 2 games at the '86 World Cup, England were bottom of their group and had not scored a goal.
We want our money back. That was an absolute disgrace.
You had the odd shot of him, didn't you, on a balcony, looking a bit down and stuff, but he never showed that to the players.
We're not it, closes
Nice.
it, and Lineker says thank you very
Haha,
much.
take that, Poland.
Collects his hat-trick. The team has found its self-respect, and it can now show us what it can do.
Don't cry for me, Argentina.
Maradona just walked away from Hoddle then. Maradona, Hodgson, and Maradona gives Argentina the lead. The England players protesting to the referee.
Yeah, I was going to say, why he running?
Well, certainly his arm was up, but the goal stands.
Bobby, after the game, was raging. I've never seen him that angry before, or subsequently, I never saw him that angry.
It was
Maradona
God.
handled the ball into the goal, didn't he?
Nope.
Didn't he?
God
There's
did.
these small moments that you're not in control of that make or break your career as an England manager.
And Bobby Robson goes disconsolately away.
Well,
There's nothing really as fickle as football. A couple of not great performances and the world's against you, and then a couple of good performances and it's like you're the best thing ever, when the
Accurate.
truth is it's somewhere in the middle, but we don't do that very well. It's very black and white.
it's true for a lot of sports here, too. 2 years later. On your bike crossing. Damn. Been through hell since our... England lost all 3 matches at Euro '88. Well,
some of these journalists have been fueling the most vitriolic campaign ever waged against the manager of an England football team. Tabloid headlines like these are little more than character assassination.
Jesus.
My memories of Bobby with England was he was probably one of the first managers to really be criticised. When he was on the front page, he was being ridiculed.
The gloves are off with England. It is so important to the country. If I look around the press box, I would say the majority of people want England to do well. But I think what most media organisations and certainly most newspapers want is a balance. They want maybe the correspondent being supportive of England.
That didn't look like a balance to me.
Another reporter, maybe a columnist, to be critical.
I mean, there are number 2 football writers, if I may use that collective expression, who are here specifically to do the job on Robson should it be necessary.
Is it hurtful to you to see some of the headlines that there's been, the plonker and go?
Well, everybody is human, aren't they? And you try to ignore it, and you try to not let it upset you. And I think I try very hard about that. But yes, it can be hurt. It can be hurtful, rather.
What makes a man like Bobby Robson look like he has looked in the last month or so? Well, I'll tell you, it's people in our game with their petty jealousies who feed the press, who don't want the England manager to be successful. It's then the press themselves. What sort of treatment is that of people? What do we expect? We actually destroy fellow human beings, and of that I want no part.
The English football press is very, very good. They know football. Many times they are fair. Sometimes you think they are not fair but they are good. But some other part of the press which has less to do with football, you could easily live without them.
How much power do the press have? We spend far more time than the players, the FA, mixing with England fans. I would say if I was listing the 5 main problems with England, I would have the FA in at either number 2 or number 3. I think the England manager should tell the FA to stay at arm's length. I think there's so much ego with a lot of members of the FA when they come along with England. I just think, don't want you around the house.
Complaining about the media, complaining about the press, is like complaining about the weather. You're not going to change it. The job is to win matches. If you can win matches, it doesn't matter what is going on elsewhere.
In a news conference which reflected Mr. Robson's uneasy relationship with the press, it was adjourned while photographers were asked to leave. The FA confirmed that the manager will leave immediately after the World Cup ends in July.
There is absolutely no truth whatsoever in all the speculation, rubbish that we've seen in 1 or 2 publications today.
Oh man, he's furious.
He'd announced that he was going to move, or someone had found out about it, and he was treated like a traitor. I think they said traitor in one of the papers. Absolutely ludicrous.
I think he'd had enough. I think he'd had enough of the criticism in the press, and I think he'd had enough of the lack of support from within inside the building, the Football Association, which is a common theme with the FA.
Well, I mean, he can only do so much. He picks a side. Obviously, he's responsible. Everybody in England's an England manager.
But I think it was the first time, really, that relationships between the players and the management and the British media really started to plummet.
It's what I gave up a pleasant way of life for, to come and try to win the World Cup for England. It's been a marvellous experience. And you know, you can't try and win the World Cup unless you take the job on anyway, can you? You know, I mean, how many people get the chance of trying to win the World Cup for England? Only one, that's the guy who takes the job.
Those are the England players who walk out for the most important match our international team have played since 1960.
Well, that's Germany again.
Jurgen knows that if he keeps Waddle out here, Germany are in the final, and England are out. And England are out of the World Cup.
Why is it always penalties?
Germany are through to the final on penalty kicks, and Bobby Robson's dream is shattered.
What Italia 90 did is it put the country back in love with football. England has never played better. I mean, certainly they hadn't played as well as that since perhaps 1966.
È un refrain che continua a arrivare nella testa col 66 e gli anni passano e non si raggiunge mai questo obiettivo.
The public has its view on Mr. Robson's eventual successor. The names are well known. Aston Villa's Graham Taylor is the favourite.
2-1 us. Oh, yep. Oof, 1993.
The
Oh,
first thing I
man.
want to establish in this interview is that I'm not here to make excuses.
Well, yeah, I bet.
Are you feeling as though almost you're watching
What
your
the
own
fuck?
funeral?
That's fight during disaster World Cup.
He took the criticism so much to heart, partly because he respected the media, partly because his father was a well-known local journalist.
As a player, you can see it, but you're never really aware of what it's doing to a manager personally, but it has to affect them.
Oh, yeah.
Particularly Graham Taylor probably stand out a little bit more than anybody else for the volatile press that he...
Yeah, like, see, the same
That was, of course, because of failure.
You see, at the end of the day, I get the sack now.
But for World Cup, they need to beat San Marino by 7 clear goals and hope the result went the other way. The results went their way.
The stage is set for England's last and decisive match in this World Cup qualifying group. England in red, San Marino in blue, and Baciocchi, number 9, picks the ball up straight away, and San Marino launched the first attack.
No.
By Stuart Pearce.
Oh,
San Marino
boy.
have scored. I don't believe this.
Oh, they almost did it too.
What are we left with? We're looking all, scouring all the countries, all the clubs, looking at any manager who's just been successful for the last year or two.
Whoever takes it at this time is doomed.
Yeah. Oh, 2 years, come on.
Terry was a genius at man management. For the vast majority of time, you walked off a training session covered in sweat, but smiling and laughing and joking.
It's about time we can try and put some fun on the faces of everybody and perhaps enjoy it.
Well,
what always rubbed off on me about Terry was his enthusiasm for the game and his knowledge.
I didn't record this off iPlayer, by the way.
Behind the scenes,
whoever uploaded this to YouTube did. I just stole theirs.
And the FA board at that time, you know, wasn't really as connected as he wanted it to be. And
but since they were so blatant about it, I don't feel bad.
One of the reasons why he didn't stay as long as everybody expected.
6 months is now Venables will step down after the tournament.
Terry Venables faces a number of time-consuming legal battles in the latter part of 1996, which he believes could interfere with England's efforts to qualify
for the
final stages of the next World Cup.
He felt he wasn't given enough security by the FA. I feel now, and I felt then, quite soon afterwards, that some of us should have done more to keep him in the job.
Glenn Hoddle. Oh, 2 years again, god damn it.
Listen, I don't think there's been anybody more vocal than me in terms of saying I think the best manager's been for the in my era. And I think Glenn Hoddle, if he was given that opportunity to, with a longer run at it, he'd have got us definitely semi-finals.
What happened?
At least, because tactically he was a genius, ahead of his time. He was playing free at the back, which people are doing now years ago.
I got on extremely well with Glenn. There was one problem that Glenn Hoddle had is that on the training ground he was perhaps better than some of the players in the England squad, and one or two players weren't quite comfortable with that. When we used to do warm-ups and keep-ups, Glenn was incredibly good at that and liked to show that off.
I think he was very serious back then. He's chilled out a lot now, Glenn Hoddle, but that comes with age, I'm sure.
Since the age of 28, Glenn's life has been guided by strong religious beliefs. He's experienced faith healing. He allows his own personal spiritual faith in God to shape his whole destiny.
I don't enjoy the faith healer stuff. There's parts of his management that I didn't agree with.
His troubles stem from his relationship with the former pub landlady, the faith healer Eileen Drury.
I torn the hamstring and they said I'd be out for 6 or 7 weeks. I got up the next day and all I can say is I was digging my fingers into the hamstring injury as far as I could, and there was just nothing there. I couldn't believe it, and I phoned up and said, you know, what happened? And she said she did absent healing for me, and I played 2 days later.
He never forced it on you. He didn't say you had to go and do this. You had to go and see a faith healer. You had to have different kind of treatment.
Because it was different, people saw that as being weird or spooky. And I was always up for trying and willing to try new things.
The truth was that the FA officially did not believe in Eileen Drury. She was always controversial, and we had members of the FA board saying, you know, what does she do? Why do we need her? Who's paying her? All those sort of things. And you had to, on behalf of the manager, you had to fight the corner. And Glenn had expected to win the World Cup of 1998. I have no doubt about that.
This is an occasion that stands in its own right. One of those that will be marked down as a memorable World Cup night,
Argentina
whatever the
again.
outcome. Now, can Beckham set England moving? This is Owen, taken in his stride. Chamot trying not to bring him down. It's still Michael Owen! He scored a wonderful goal! Is there nothing beyond this 18-year-old?
The level of confidence the players would have gained getting through that round, I think, would have taken them on and motivated them to greater things. I'm not sure they'd have won it, but certainly they'd have gone a long, long way, I think.
Well, Messrs Pearce.
Oh, not penalties again.
Must know exactly what's going through Batty's
No.
mind. And he has joined them, and England again are out of the World Cup on penalties.
Oi.
Good afternoon. The England football coach, Glenn Hoddle, is at the centre of a controversy over a newspaper interview in which he's quoted as saying that people born with disabilities may be paying for sins in a previous life.
Glenn Hoddle was quoted as saying, "You and I have been given 2 hands and 2 legs and half-decent brains. Some people have not been born like that for a reason. The karma is working from another lifetime." The Times journalist who conducted the interview says the England coach was quite happy to talk about his views and insists he was not misquoted.
I think I've sort of reported them sort of as he said and straight, and it's for other people to decide what they think of them, shall we say.
And he's an idiot.
Yeah.
To come out with statements like that, I mean, I'm just glad he's not Chelsea manager anymore.
I mean, I think if he's really said it in the way he's reported to have said it, it's very offensive and
so
I think it's difficult for him to stay in those circumstances, yes. The only thing I say, I mean, I've had enough experience of going through these types of interviews and all the rest of it.
Damn, even the Prime Minister wanted him out.
Hear his explanation
of course, yes,
first.
Yes.
Did you actually mean or imply in what you said that disabled people are paying for sins committed in previous lives? That seems to be the crux of
I didn't actually say that. All I've said, I gave an example of the man asked me about reincarnation, which I've been on television and radio before, and said that's a personal belief of mine. I tried to give him an example of why people, are born into sometimes in life in poverty.
So you did say it.
In material riches. And there's an imbalance there's an injustice, of which I've also said people were born disabled coming into life, and other people, I mean, I've personally got 3 lovely children that have not been disabled, God bless, at this moment in time. And, for him to actually go or for somebody to go and misconstrue that I have said this about disabled people is outrageous, and it's just something that, I've seriously got to think about what I can say and what I can't say to all the press now.
I think Glenn believed he was stitched up, and it became very clear that support for Glenn was draining away.
If you fast forward that to the generation that we're now, social media, he would not have lasted until lunchtime on the first day. The reaction now would have been so toxic.
The Football Association tonight sacked the England coach Glenn Hoddle because of his remarks about reincarnation.
Yes and no. Not so much the reincarnation aspect, just so much,
As far as Kevin Keegan's concerned, I think 7 or 8 days ago now, I put a statement out saying that I wasn't going to leave Fulham, that I'm totally committed for the next year and a half.
I'm just happy, quite frankly, to be one of those, whose name at least is being mentioned, even though I have no idea whether the people who make the decisions are thinking of me or not.
If I'm not their choice, if I'm not their man, I understand that. Go for somebody else. But we need to appoint an England manager quickly.
Kevin Keegan, oh my God.
This is the biggest job. It's a great challenge. As I said before, I didn't think I could do it in the setup that I've got, then I would not have taken that job, because I don't want to be a loser.
Well, initially accepting a role on a part-time basis, he was eventually named permanent manager. And then what happened?
Everybody loved Kevin because he wore his heart on his sleeve, but it became clear that he didn't really enjoy the job.
I found it
that's not good.
I need to be with people. I found it hard to fill in the time. I found myself going and training the blind team, the deaf team down at Kiel. But, those long weeks, months sometimes, when you don't get the players together. And then suddenly they come back, you just wheel them out for a game for England.
Oh, boy.
Liverpool's Dietmar Hamann will take it. 2 in the wall, says Seaman, and Hamann takes it quickly, and England, totally unprepared, are totally embarrassed.
I think whenever an Englishman sees Didi Hamann, they tend to go up and thank them, because it was his free kick that effectively got rid of Kevin Keegan, because Kevin Keegan was out of his depth.
Damn. Fuck, dude.
I walked into that dressing room, and there were players in tears, and Tony Adams absolutely said, "David, you talk to Kevin, you've got to get him to change his mind." And I knew immediately what had happened.
He quit.
And so we ended up in a cubicle of the toilet, right, having a private conversation with players in the shower baths outside, steam everywhere. It was a surreal moment, but I was pretty clear. I mean, I knew Kevin well enough to know that the idea of him changing his mind
was most unlikely.
Kevin, I understand that you're not carrying on with the job.
No, I've told the players first, which is right. Not an easy decision, but I think the right one. The truth is that, you know, Kevin Keegan's just a little bit short for this job. And the one person who really knows that is Kevin Keegan.
Didn't that guy just say that the players would thank him for getting rid of Keegan? But then we immediately cut to apparently the players were crying in the dressing room after over him quitting.
I don't care what anybody else thinks. And, you know, I really feel that someone else can take this group of players on and be very successful. But I haven't quite managed to find that formula.
So we tore down his house. Take that, Keegan.
I want to talk a bit about managing England and what it's like to manage England.
I don't know. So don't go there. I've got nothing to say on that. It's just I've got nothing to say on it. You know, I don't want to talk about the current manager. I'll talk anything about my situation and what I've done. I'm not prepared to sort of talk about Sven-Göran Eriksson or Steve McLaren. You know, let Sven-Göran Eriksson tell you how he feels.
Oh boy, hey, last 5 years.
I remember I was in my car driving to south of Italy for 2 days off. And the football agent Ethel Still phoned me on my mobile and I said, okay, how are you? Would you be interested in the England job, he said. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, I'm at Wembley, and I just saw England losing 1-0 against Germany. Well, I said, you're joking, Ethel. You know that that's impossible. A foreigner can never be a manager of England.
After 3 weeks of searching, the Football Association has at
done.
last found someone to take on the job as England's coach. And it'll be the first time a foreigner takes charge of the national side.
For goodness sake, this would never happen in France, Italy, Spain, Germany, Holland. And yet I just feel it smacks of desperation.
People with signs, go home, we don't want any foreign manager for England.
That's pretty fucked up.
Things like that.
Disappointed. I think that they must have thought at that particular time that going outside of an Englishman was something that they needed to try and do.
Have you know, I managed Wales in FIFA, and they had no problem with me.
Think about a foreign manager, and Rio said, I don't care if he comes from China, from England, Sweden, or from the moon, he said. Just take us to the World Cup.
Well, what a big night it is for Sven-Göran Eriksson. As was said in the studio, if England could get a win here, it would boost so
fucking
much
Germany.
morale and confidence in this man. Oh, it's through again for England. What a chance for the hat-trick here.
Hey!
Oh, this is getting better and better and better.
Oh, nice flip.
1, 2, 3 for Michael Owen.
You hope that you could have these results every football game you have done.
Beckham, Scholes again now. Heskey's to his left unmarked. Emil Heskey, could it be 5?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it is! This is developing into one of the most memorable performances that an England team has put up in recent years. Listen to this. Germany 1, England 5.
Get fucking memed on.
When you have the job and you have qualified for the big tournament, you almost feel physically that you have 60, 65 million people pushing you.
Yeah.
Come on, Sven, make a great World Cup. Let's go for it, and so on. That makes it incredible.
Now, final preparations for the World Cup are underway, and the England manager has been making the headlines. But it has nothing to do with football. Asked about his relationship with Ulrika Johnson, he said his private life was just that, his private life.
Bro, you banged Ulrika?
Off the pitch, yeah, I could have lived another life and more quiet.
Nice.
But for me, private life is private.
Unless he had a wife, then not nice, but...
Professional life is professional. And never mix them together. It disturbs a lot of other people. And I'm talking about parents, ex-wife, I'm talking about children.
This is a story that reflects the obsession of an age. Football
and celebrity love lives. Neither side may have admitted to anything, but you can still read all about it on pages 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It goes on.
Bruh.
But private. You have to have a private life.
I could understand Sven saying private is private, but then if the players were talking about it, if the country was talking about it, I'm afraid private becomes public.
His private life was almost
probably because you reported it in the first place,
much
dumbass.
more time than anything else that was going on. Oh, there was something called football.
It is not that easy to win the World Cup. It's rather difficult, and you're not alone. There are other really good football countries around the world.
Uh-oh, not Brazil.
Oh, and Seaman's been beaten. It's a goal. It's Ronaldinho.
That was beautiful.
He scored direct from the free kick.
I met Ronaldinho many times after that, and I always asking, Sven, I tried to score. And he's always laughing. I don't think he tried.
Oh, the whistle's gone. England are out of the World Cup. Eriksson's dream evaporates.
There was a lot of hinterland to Sven, as we sort of discovered. He's interested in women, he's interested in art, he's interested in wine.
Wow, he's interested in women,
When
that's
he had
crazy.
whiskey, he was good company. But in terms of football, it was fairly straightforward with Sven. But then maybe he looked at the English and thought, I'm just going to keep this simple and play it simple.
England's golden generation reached the quarterfinals of the Euro World Cup. 6 months before the World Cup, Eriksson was targeted by a newspaper sting.
It was the third time it came out, a lot of shit. The first came out in 2002 and just before 2004. And the third one comes out, the fake shake. At the end I got sacked of that. I've been asked to win the World Cup, and after that I've been asked to look after my life. So I said, well, it's true what people saying. News of the world ruling the country, and even the FA. Because I told them it's not true what's written there, but it didn't help. The only thing I said to the FA, can you please do me a favor? Don't announce the name of the next coach until after the World Cup. And especially I said if it's someone working with me. Of course, they didn't listen even there, so...
Damn.
After weeks of speculation, the Football Association has finally confirmed that Steve McLaren will be England's next head coach. He'll take over from Sven-Göran Eriksson in August. A BBC survey found that just a quarter of England fans are happy with the decision.
Well, I've had many great moments in football already in my career, but this today has to be the proudest moment in my career.
Of course he wanted the job, I knew that. It shouldn't come out that he will be the next England manager, as long as you are in the middle of a big tournament. It's not right.
All right, Portugal.
Penalty shootouts. One of the regrets
penalties again.
During my time in England was that I, before 2006 tournament, didn't take in a mental coach for just penalty shootouts.
Apparently they still haven't done that.
It's Cristiano Ronaldo.
Shit.
He's done it. Portugal are through, and England, despite heroics, are out of the World Cup.
It's always penalties.
That was a year we should have done better. Absolutely. We were a better team than just a quarterfinal.
The WAG circus was extraordinary. Did it distract the players? I'm not sure it really did.
It was not a problem. If you want to look for reasons why we didn't win the World Cup, that's bullshit.
A year? God damn it. What happened, Steve?
I knew the people on the board. I've been involved for 4 years with Sven. None of the other English managers had experienced international football. None of them had experienced European football. You know, for me, I was the standout English candidate.
Nothing gets reaction like England's match reports when England have gone out. It's just absolutely huge. It's one of those sort of water cooler moments that everyone in the country stops and talks about. And they're very, very rare, those.
All right, well, maybe just play better for him.
It's a great determination now to prove a lot of people wrong. And gentlemen, if you want to write whatever you want to write, you can write it.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
I'm going to say. Thank you.
You seem almost calm about this situation, bearing in mind, Steve, this is probably the most important game of your England managerial career.
I think you said that every time we've played.
I have actually.
They need at least a draw against Croatia. Didn't get it, did they?
Eduardo in the centre. Cranchard will shoot from here.
Oh!
It's deceived Scott Carson.
Well.
And England are out of the European Championships.
The FA board unanimously decided to terminate the contract of the England head coach, Steve McLaren.
He had the most brutal. We've had some brutal inquests with England managers because they have to do this exit interview on the terms of their contract with the FA. And it's horrible. They don't want to be there. And we just get stuck into them.
I think probably the criticism is getting more severe. This seems to me to be the most disappointing feature.
Don't come and talk to me about it doesn't matter about results when England play. It matters every match wherever we play.
I turned round and there was a lady sitting at the back of the room listening to the whole thing, and it was Steve McLaren's wife. It's the families and the mothers who are so proud that their offspring are representing their country, and they're going into a supermarket and people are looking at them and just saying, your son let his country down. You know, it's so, there is that human maelstrom and calamity that goes on. And I mean, sometimes I have to remind myself not to forget that. But it's difficult because you so want England to do well and you're so frustrated at defeats that probably weigh in. We do weigh in hard.
It was a vicious era of huge expectation.
Yeah.
And the Wally and all that comes with that job. And you know that. So, you know, don't anyone feel sorry for me or feel, oh, that was a bit harsh or whatever. You know, it's part of the job and I took that.
The recruitment process for the new coach begins now, and we will do everything to get the right man for the job.
Fabio Capello. Got 3
Fabio,
years.
welcome. Already you have made... Are you hearing?
Wait, just hold on 1 second. We're waiting for the...
Ho dei ricordi molto belli della mia avventura inglese.
Now, he may have trouble talking to journalists in English, but England's new manager, Fabio Capello, has had no trouble telling his footballers exactly what he expects of them. There are rules about everything from using mobile phones to making sure they turn up for breakfast on time.
He's probably the one manager in my career where I thought, oh my gosh, Fabio Capello, the great Fabio Capello is coming to manage England.
The one rule with England managers is that the successor is always the complete antithesis of the person he's replacing. I mean, it's like the FA go, right, we're driving a Ferrari, or we've crashed the Ferrari, let's go and get a nice sensible Volvo and drive around in that because we're not going to crash that. So they swing from sort of different types.
That somewhat makes sense.
La pressione del mondiale, devo dire, è qualcosa di diverso. Io l'ho provata come giocatore e come allenatore e purtroppo non riesci a capire cosa succede a tanti giocatori.
This is Dempsey. He's a try. Green's filled it. The United States are level, and it's a nightmare moment for Rob Green. Oh,
USA! USA!
La maglia nazionale pesa molto, è molto difficile giocare con la nazionale.
Another poor performance from England.
They had to sort against Algeria, bro.
Ring around the Cape Town Stadium.
Nice to see home fans booing it. That's what Bullet supporters.
Ugh. Oh, they qualified.
no butter on your bread before a game. And now people would say that's the most smallest and littlest thing. Yeah, it is, but everything's magnified because you're there for that small period of time. The media, the press, the expectations of the fans.
I'd say fuck you, dude, I'm having butter.
It's like a pressure cooker. And so you need someone sometimes to take the edge off things, and he didn't have that in his makeup to really do that. Things would intensify with him in the main, really, because he was so intense himself.
Non è un sacrificio, non è una prigione. Sono tutte cose che si inventano sempre quando ci sono le sconfitte.
Germany again.
Defoe, that's a lovely touch. Lampard! Brilliant! It was in now!
No?
It surely crossed the line! It's not been given! Oh, it's in!
Oh, it did.
So far in!
C'è stato la mano di Maradona e c'è stato il fischio dell'arbitro a sfavore.
How did they not give that? That was obvious.
Per noi l'errore arbitrale è stato qualcosa di veramente un danneggiamento grave.
God damn.
It ends here for England. And Fabio Capello, well, is he still fit for the England job? The man who could do no wrong coming into the tournament.
Io ero convinto che questa fosse una squadra molto buona, difatti quando arriva il mondiale
Cristiano Ronaldo's favorite person, Wayne Rooney.
e ti copre con le sue ali bianche e non ti fa rendere più come dovresti. Lasciai l'Inghilterra nazionale per una questione molto semplice e molto seria, secondo me.
What was it?
Il problema di John Terry, che fu accusato di razzismo.
FA stripped John Kerry at the captaincy ahead of his trial for alleged racist abuse. Well, yeah.
Se noi facciamo una cosa del genere, lo riteniamo colpevole, disse. Guilty. Non è possibile che sia colpevole prima di aspettare l'ultima sentenza.
The manager
at the same time,
is the most important person in a football club or
if he's on trial
like this.
Oh wait, on trial?
But there are moments when
why was he on
the board
trial
and the chairman have to step up to the plate and when strong leadership is required.
Officials here at Wembley have been left in an all too familiar state of chaos. But after the way it all ended for the Italian, who would want the job?
4 years ain't bad, Roy.
It's really a question of getting to the tournament itself and making certain that some of the qualities that maybe the team has shown in getting you there are displayed when you arrive.
Welcome to the jungle. 900 miles from the Atlantic Ocean, only 200 miles south of the equator. It is hot, no excuses.
Italy didn't make it this year.
Complexities really revolve around your preparation and how you're going to make certain that you help the players as much as possible maintain their routine. We haven't managed to find a way of helping our players come to terms with the incarceration that being part of a national team in a football tournament actually brings with it.
Le altre squadre stanno in ritiro, lavorano, fanno, vincono e non trovano questi scusanti. Sono le scusanti dei perdenti.
If you look at the games individually, against Italy we lost 2-1, but actually we're probably the better team and played quite well.
Well, you didn't win though, so you obviously weren't.
We were 1-1 back in the game when a ball skidded off Steven Gerrard's head and played an offside player onside to win them that game.
Oh, it's Luis Suarez! And Luis Suarez has thumped it in!
We did very poorly. We lost 2 of the 3 games and drew 1, which is a very, very poor result, and failed to qualify, so it's obviously an unqualified failure.
A dark place for England once again in 2014.
Però dopo che sono venuti a casa da Copacabana, cosa hanno detto? Troppe feste?
That 9, they only won 2 knockout matches.
We have a group of players, really nice individuals, but when they go on England duty, they are treated like absolute superstars, and they've done nothing since '66 to merit that.
Oh, well.
I think that in my short reign, it was the greatest job and the worst job combined into 67 days. I think that finally getting that job and seeing your name in and above Wembley particularly would be one of the greatest times of my life.
Get that smile. I can't imagine why we can't get that smile. Excuse me, I can't stop smiling because I've got this job.
You've not seen this one before, have you? You've not seen that one, have you? I don't know whether this was true or not. I just felt like the man of the people, if you like. You know what I mean? I got that sort of feeling that, like, you know what I mean, people seem to think that I actually do deserve this chance. The first game, the feel-good factor was great. Putting the suit on, the England suit and tie and the national anthem. Really proud to be the man in the spotlight, even though it wasn't for long enough. It'll always be one of the greatest moments in my career.
Was secretly filmed alleging offering advice how to get around. Oh.
It's not a problem.
Yeah, I mean there are ways around that, as I understand it, or ways through that.
Obviously, I hadn't crowned myself in glory. I admit that, and had got sucked in. But we all know that I should have been more careful. But actually, the substance behind it was the fact that I was being portrayed to not only break the rules but be greedy. And in the cold light of day, I had accepted and done nothing wrong. I hadn't broken any rules whatsoever.
Well,
and I'd never accepted any money.
You're on video though, bud.
What really followed was I think this country should be embarrassed about how it goes about trying to destroy people without the real evidence being the intrusion and the destruction that's portrayed throughout the headlines throughout the media is quite.
You're right, but also
devastating.
You should maybe own up to what you did as well.
There are ambushes everywhere. I think the issue with Sam Allardyce was there wasn't a huge appetite in certain parts of the media for him to get the job. I didn't want him to get the job. I didn't think he was particularly suited for footballing reasons, not for the reasons why he eventually left.
Nobody cares what
the reign came to an abrupt end, overnight. They said we can't carry on, and I still don't know why. They said that because in the cold light of day, there was nothing behind it. And if just a bit more time was taken, a bit more patience, I believe I should be still the England manager. But that decision was made very hastily, unfortunately for me.
Well.
On reflection, it was a silly thing to do, but just to let everybody know, I sort of helped out what was somebody I'd known for 30 years, and unfortunately it was an error in judgment on my behalf, and I paid the consequences. But entrapment has won on this occasion, and I have to accept that.
The big problem I was facing, I couldn't get over it. I was sitting, staring into the abyss, and my wife was talking to me, and she could have been talking about anything, but I wasn't listening. So how could I get myself out of
there wasn't nothing important.
This hole, if you like? It still never goes away from you. You move it in the back of your mind, but you never ever forget it every now and again. And particularly when an England game comes on, it pops back up and say, what could have been? But, like I said, you have to move on, and you can't let it ruin you.
And here we are.
I'm a proud Englishman. I'm honoured and privileged to be the England manager. It's a position of responsibility, but it's an honour that I'm enjoying, and I want to inspire the players to be as good as they possibly can be. Other countries have won more recently than we have, so expectations for them
did really well at the Euros
even higher than in our
until
country.
the end.
But we've
Damn
just
penalties
focused
again.
on what we do and what we can control.
The reason why Gareth Southgate has a chance with England is he doesn't really care about us. He has always said any criticism that the press give me, nothing can compare to Euro 96.
No, advice. Use your own head and don't listen to other people. Do it your way.
I've really enjoyed it. I've done things and I've seen things and I've experienced situations that, you know, you can't get unless you take on the job.
Oh, is that it? Okay.
È eccitante,
Southgate got nothing. I know I think he just got the job when this came out, actually.
It's a pleasure.
So fair
going
enough.
taxi in London today. Come back, Sven, they say, and of course that makes you proud.
Jealous is what I feel, you know, because that should be me there.
Well, it's not, so, you know.
This is a new age now of young players that I hope are going to be given a chance to go out there and express themselves without the fear of being ridiculed and absolutely hammered in the media when they come back.
Bro, we get it. You stole this off iPlayer. Stop making me look bad. I didn't do this.
It can be done. I'm
I
sure
didn't have
it will
iPlayer.
be done in years to come, but and I hope I'm around to see that.
We're excited by the team. Everybody knows it's one of the youngest squads in the tournament and probably the least experienced in terms of caps. But when you've got young players, you don't want to limit what they think is possible.
There's a lot of respect for Southgate in the in the bank, but you know, if he slips up against Panama,
you know, I never feel bad about taking copies off YouTube. Like, I never feel bad because it's like, if they're doing the same thing I'm doing, they're just taking somebody else's show and uploading it. I especially don't feel bad with this, though, because this motherfucker made it obvious as shit, dude. But that was a fun topic to get some insight to. Obviously, world football is not as popular in America as it is in other countries. It's probably the 5th most popular sport here. But I do see a lot of similarities towards, you know, how teams and how, you know, fans treat players for normal sports teams here, but nothing on an international scale. But maybe it is the same thing just because of the population difference. I don't know. But, I mean, about 100,000 people watch the Super Bowl every year. So, you know. But, and what's the England total population? Like 60 or 100,000 people? 100 million people. I'm sorry, 100 million people. Well, I think there's like... So maybe due to the population difference, it like, you know, it evens out. But I think for the most part, I agree that they're definitely treated too harshly by the media. I'm not sure about the last guy. You know, I might have to look more into that, but he's more like, oh, I got set up. It's like, but they caught you on video, bro. You know, his kind of felt like a sob story from his end, but for the rest of it, I do agree that they did seem to be more treated more harshly. And again, if England don't make it out of the group stage, we might see some more of that coming up. So we'll have to find out. I guess we'll see. Good luck, Southgate. Good fucking luck, buddy. Well, that is going to do it for me today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you again, username, for using your points on this. That's it for me today. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to leave it a like. If you didn't like it, don't. If you want to follow any of my social media links, my Twitch, where I stream every single day, my second channel for stream views, my Twitter, if you want to follow me on my Patreon. If you want to support me on my daily motion, all things are in the video description down below, as well as the Twitch VODs channel and the community Reddit. Also, thank you to all my patrons who are currently named in the video description. In addition to getting your name in there, you can also get access to reaction videos, as well as read your comments up to date early, sometimes more, for as little as $1 or £1 a month. With all that being said, though, my name is Taffy16. This has been my reaction to Managing England, the Impossible Job, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.